I'm Jackie Tranquita. All right, he only goes by one name, but that one name is one of the most legendary in rock. He is Slash, the man, the myth, and the legend, and he sat down with our own DJ Skee in LA to talk shop. Brought to you by Budweiser.
Yes, it is going down on AXS Live. I'm honored to be here because we have a legend, not just in rock, but in music. I'm talking about Slash. How are you feeling, sir? You're good. Now, did you think back in the early 80s when you got your start that you'd be not just, still around and stuff, but as successful as ever? It's 2013, but last year, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Loudwire Guitarist of the Year, an album, second album and stuff. Did you know this was going to happen back when you started off?
No, I mean, I really had no expectations. I just was struggling to learn how to play guitar and start a band and, write songs and all that kind of stuff. And I always live basically in the moment, so I don't see too far into the future. And I can't say that I had any, sort of like goals as far as that is concerned. I just wanted to be in a situation to make a record one day.
Absolutely. Now, we all know about the groups that you've been in and stuff, too, but over the past few years, you've even branched out. Obviously, the first solo album had a lot of different guests out there. I've seen you perform, everywhere from Fergie, Super Bowls, to, Sunset Music Festivals and stuff. How have you evolved music-wise? Because you've done a lot of things people might not have expected you to kind of, do.
What do you mean? What did you say music-wise?
Yeah, how have you always, evolved? What's made you want to work with these different people? Because that's, you and Fergie, that's not a collaboration a lot of people would expect Slash to see.
That's a particular situation, because I heard Fergie sing one time, sing a Zeppelin song. And I was like, that girl's got some amazing rock chops. And so years later, when I was doing a record, I needed a female vocalist. And so I automatically thought of her. And that's how that happened. But some of the other stuff that I do that's just sort of off the beaten path or something that you wouldn't expect me to do, it's really just because I like playing all the time. And I like playing in situations that you wouldn't necessarily find me, because it's sort of a challenge. And seeing if I can also infuse some certain kinds of music with a little bit of a rock style, because I think the two mesh together. And mostly just because I get bored easy.
You could tell. And it's kind of interesting, if you look at the two solo albums that you put out. In 2010, you had all these guest collaborators. This one had, it was more just you and Myles Kennedy. And the sound on it's not, if you kind of get drum with Slash rock, you think of all that stuff. You go all over the place with this album. Is that intentional?
I don't know if it's necessarily intentional. It's just, as a player, you want to be able to do different things. You hopefully have more than just one idea. And so you go for it. And with these guys, I've been able to, any idea that I come up with, we can at least give it a shot and see what happens, And that's basically, and Myles seems to be able to come up with the melody no matter what I write.
That's awesome. So did you go into your second album knowing that you wanted to do it with Myles and the rest of the crew, or did you just kind of start recording and that's the way it happened?
Well, when I did the first solo record, I had all the different singers, and at the very end of the making of the album, I had two songs that were left over, and I was trying to think of who would sound good on these two songs. And around that same time, I'd heard Myles was doing this thing with Led Zeppelin, and I'd heard about Myles, but I'd never heard him sing. And I thought, well, let's just take a shot in the dark. He's got to be good, And I didn't do any research. I didn't look up Alter Bridge at that time and so on. And so I called him up and said, I've got this piece of music and I'm doing this record with all these different people. You want to just see what you come up with? And I sent it to him, and about a week later, he sent the song back with some vocals on it, and it was fucking great, Yeah. So I flew him out to LA. We recorded the album version of the song, and then I asked him to do another one. So this is Starlight, and then we did Back from Cali. And I had to put together a band to go on tour to support the record. And so I just, I didn't expect a positive answer, but I gave it a shot. And I said, do you want to do this tour? And I knew he could handle all the diversity of all the material that the tour would encapsulate, from GNR and Velvet and Snake Pit and then this new record. So we went out there and I met Brent, and he introduced me to Todd, and we just put together this pickup band that just happened to be really good. And so we went out and toured, and I thought, fuck it, I was going to make another record. I'll just do it with these guys, and that's what we've been doing.
Why not? So what inspires you right now? What new artists or new music are you listening to? Anything?
Well, I went and saw Gojira the other night, who were intense, were really, really good. And I don't necessarily play that kind of music, but I love the sincerity and the heart behind it. You know, a lot of rock and roll right now is very diluted, and I don't really hear like real honest emotional, you know, statements being made or any kind of real emotion in the music. And so I start looking elsewhere. So, you know, thrash metal seems to be one of the longest, like it's been lasting all this time, and it's always been, you know, true to its school. But for the most part, I'm writing new material now, and I'm more inspired by the lack of stuff that's out there than the amount of stuff that there is new for me to listen to.